Ready? You can go ahead and begin.
Think. Have you smiled today? If so, why did you smile? What made you smile? Scientists have several theses as to why we, as a human race, smile and why smiling could be considered contagious. These theories include the maintenance of hierarchical relationships to show physical submission and because of social influence. There are numerous theories as to why humans smile and why it could. Smiling is commonly used for the subconscious maintenance of hierarchical relationships. These relationships are between two or more parties, with one of them holding more power over the others. So, smiling could very well happen among social groups in order to assume power or acknowledge the power of another individual. As stated in Naturalistic Observations of Smiling and Laughter in Human Group Interactions by Mark Mayhew and Robin I. M. Dunbar, smiling and laughter could function to acknowledge hierarchical relationships and help avoid the risks resulting from agonistic interactions. Non-human primate literature indeed suggests that some displays could function to implement social hierarchy in day-to-day interactions. On the other side of the coin, scientists theorize that some smiles are shown to declare physical submission, just the opposite of power. There have been several studies conducted as to whether or not smiling shows signs of physical submission. To test this theory, most researchers look at fighters. The fighters' expressions in their pre-fight photograph is examined, as well as the outcome of the fight. While examining these pre-fight photos, the general public also chose the smiling fighter as appearing less hostile. After lengthy discussion, this study stated, more specifically, elevated smile intensity predicts reduced physical dominance prior to a physical confrontation because the nonverbal expression reveals an individual's lower levels of physical dominance in relation to a specific opponent. Now I would like to show you a video uploaded by The Atlantic that shares some more insight on these ideas.
Visiting the U.S. points out one custom most Americans wouldn't think twice about: their smile. Guidebooks explain to tourists that Americans smile to strangers a lot. So why do Americans smile so much? And why is that so strange to everyone else? Americans seem to smile even when there's not a very good reason to. When you see an American smiling, they might be feeling happy, confident, or neutral. Sometimes it's just a polite way to make someone else feel comfortable. Think service with a smile.
Here's your receipt. Thank you very much.
In other countries, though, smiling for no reason can make you seem kind of dumb. One researcher found in countries like Japan, India, South Korea, and Russia, smiling faces were considered less intelligent than serious ones. His theory is that there's a connection between a country's level of instability and finding smiling stupid. After all, how can you be so confident and happy when the future's uncertain? That might help explain stereotypically frowny places like Russia, where smiling in photos isn't really a thing. There's also some interesting research that helps explain the other end of the spectrum: why Americans have stereotypically megawatt smiles. It turns out that countries with a long, robust history of immigration have historically relied more on nonverbal communication. Therefore, people there might smile more. In a recent study, researchers looked at the number of source countries that have fed into a country since Columbus arrived in the Americas. Places like Canada and the United States are very diverse, with more than 60 source countries. But places like China and Zimbabwe are more homogeneous, with just a few nationalities represented in their populations. The authors found that emotional expressiveness was correlated with diversity. In other words, when there are a lot of immigrants around, you might have to smile more to build trust and cooperation, since you don't all speak the same language. But in the countries that are less diverse, people were more likely to smile to show they were superior to one another. In these countries, smiling is a way to preserve the hierarchy.
Both of these ideas do seem very logical. However, the next one may be the most obvious reason as to why we smile. The last theory I will discuss today is the social influence on why we smile. This theory may seem like a no-brainer, but it is likely much more influential than you would believe. Scientists theorize that the genuinity of the smile surrounding us may influence how much or how intensely we smile. Humans especially will use facial mimicry in groups, most likely to fit in and feel as if they are included in a group. However, in group interactions, it can be hard to differentiate between genuine and fake smiles. Whether you notice it or not, we use surrounding facial expressions to judge the genuinity of the smile. These include things like lines formed around our mouth and face when we smile and how squinty our eyes become. Scientists have concluded that we are more likely to smile or laugh among groups based on facial mimicry within those groups. The study Beyond Smile Dynamics, Mimicry, and Beliefs and Judgments of Smiles says, there is also evidence suggesting that the simulation of other people's emotional states varies as a function of group membership. When I read this theory, I realized just how often this actually occurred in my daily life. Over the past week, I tried my best to focus on the group interactions I experienced and how my expressions changed depending on the group around me. Now, despite my general appearance, I would classify myself as a very happy-go-lucky individual. I tend to be very smiley and I like to laugh around people. However, this past week, I realized how much I smile just because it is a courtesy in life. My smiles were not always genuine. Now, don't get me wrong here, I shared plenty of genuine smiles and laughs during all of our courtroom festivities, but I did notice that the emotions and expressions of those around me did sometimes affect my own expressions. For example, during the pep rally on Friday when we pied our teachers, everybody was buzzing. I felt super smiley and happy because everybody around me was having such an awesome time. I encourage all of you to look for these examples in your own daily encounters. You might be intrigued by what you will find. It was neat to see examples of this in my own life. There are numerous theories as to why humans smile and why it could be contagious, whether it be to subconsciously preserve hierarchical relationships, to show physical submission, or because we feel the need to in a large group setting. Scientists still cannot say for sure. Whatever the reason may be, I hope you never stop smiling.
Thank you very much. Give a round of applause. Thank you.